So it came down to a point, man, where me and the wife were on the verge of a divorce. We were separated. I came home one day to an empty house, working 15-hour days, came home, everything was gone. Clothes were gone, pictures were gone. I knew what had happened. And she had enough of it. She had enough, and she took the kids. They moved to Texas. And I was at that point where I just surrendered. I completely dropped to my knees. And I asked God, God, take this away from me. Not only am I hurting myself now, but I'm hurting my family.
Discipline and drive, personal trainer mindset, helping you thrive. Raise a glass, let's level up your health. This is cheers to health.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is Brian Torres, that guy with the crazy mustache. And of course, I got to have Omar Torres here with me. And ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest today. Omar, will you do the honors of introducing our guest today?
Yes, of course. Shoot. You know me, scrolling through the Instagram. I like, looking at dads that are just committed and that are also helping other people. This guy is out here devoted to his faith and spreading it and making sure, all of us dads follow the way, God is intended. So it's going to be awesome talking to him, seeing how he does things because he's a trainer, Warpath Fit. That's a cool name right there, dude. Hey, Richard Macias. This is what it is. So please tell us about yourself. Tell us how you started this journey of being fit and being, a leader in this realm.
Yeah. So I'm a father of 4, a husband, God-fearing man, obviously, right? So I wasn't always this way, though, guys. I lived a life that was completely opposite of what I'm doing now. I was always involved with God. I always knew that there was a higher purpose for me, a higher power out there. I was just never connected to him, running my own life, doing my own thing, partying, drinking, the whole good stuff that we grew up doing. But there was a time and point where I had to wake up. I had to realize that the potential and what I was doing as a man, as a father, as a leader, I wasn't cutting it. I was providing, I was paying the bills, but there's a lot more than that, right? When it comes to being a leader, provider, and a father figure. So yeah, a little bit about me. I grew up playing sports. I was an athlete growing up. I was, somebody that was always involved doing something. But I always had that addictive personality when it came to that, right? So whatever I got into, man, I went full on with it. Sports, went on and fully did it. Tattoos, I'm blasted, right? I couldn't just get one. Drinking, same exact thing. I couldn't just have one drink. I had to go out there and get, thrashed. So that's what I've learned how to kind of control now. And now I've been able to use that addictiveness, that addictive behavior into something positive now. Yep. And so that's what I teach other men to do. You might come from a past, you might come from addiction, but there's a way that you could actually use that to become like your superpower in the sense, right? So it's just a matter of how you harness that. So that's what I do now. I run like a ministry. I am a trainer when it comes to, changing people's physiques. We'll get you the transformation, but my whole goal is to bring you closer to God. So here on my program, not only do we, help you become physically stronger, mentally stronger, but spiritually stronger as well. And so I only coach men here on my program, and everything's included, fitness, nutrition, mindset, accountability. But the most important thing that I've added recently has been the faith-based ministry when it comes to that. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Like I said, I have 4 kids ranging from, 15 years old all the way down to 8. They're about 18 months apart, each one of them. Very, very close family. And yeah, that's pretty much a little bit about me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a different approach because usually whenever as a trainer, you're told, okay, just focus on training. Don't worry about religion, politics, keep that out of there. But you're taking a different approach where you're bringing people closer to God. And, that's awesome because that's a big aspect. I mean, when you think about overall well-being, and that's something that me and Brian talk about, more Brian because he's more he goes to the church more often and it helped him with his mental health and all those things. So yeah, that is a big aspect when it comes to health, holistic health. When people think about holistic health, it's that spiritual well-being as well. So that's amazing. And that's awesome that you bring that, to the front and show people like, hey, you can still get it done as a faithful person. You don't have to go through all these weird stuff that you see on Instagram. But that's awesome, dude. So
Yeah.
what made you turn into somebody who wants to train specifically? So you said you were doing you had your job, right? You were paying the bills. What made you transition into going towards more fitness training than anything?
So I came to a point in my life where, yeah, I was waking up. I just wasn't happy with myself. I would go in, punch the clock. I did HVAC for 15 years. So, I did air
Same.
conditioning, heating, ventilation, grinding. I know how it is to go out there and grind, work hard, blue
Yep.
collar worker. But every single time I woke up, man, I just felt like I had a different calling. I had a different purpose.
Yep.
And I just wasn't truly happy with myself. On the outside, life was going great. You know what I mean? I had a family, I was married, had my kids, we had a house, like everything on the outside looked good. But internally, me, myself, I wasn't proud and I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. So that led me into drinking all the time, trying to escape my life basically. I was feeling a void, feeling a void for something that wasn't there. During that time, I wasn't involved with church really. Like I said, I always prayed. I always had this connection with a higher power, but
Hmm.
I never took it how I'm taking it now. So it came down to a point, man, where me and the wife were on the verge of a divorce. We were separated. I came home one day to an empty house, working 15-hour days, came home, everything was gone. Clothes were gone, pictures were gone. I knew what had happened.
Yeah.
Leading up to this, though, I was getting the signs. My wife was telling me, "Hey, like your drinking's getting out of control. Every weekend you're blacking out. The kids are watching you, and it's just like I would promise her the world, right? I'd promise her I'd stop. I would do it for like a week or two, and then that next week I'd go back.
Yeah.
So I just never was keeping my word to her. So yeah, it came down to that point, man, and she had enough of it. She had enough, and she took the kids. They moved to Texas. And I was at that point where I just surrendered. I completely dropped to my knees and I asked God, take this away from me.
Mm.
Not only am I hurting myself now, but I'm hurting my family. I'm hurting
Yep.
those that I love. And I'm over here saying that I would always do everything for the family, right? I'd protect them, provide for them, but I was the one that was actually hurting them.
Yep.
So what do you do when you're the one hurting your family, right? Like you have to make changes.
Hmm.
And so that's what I did, man. That night, surrendered, prayed to God. I just felt like this peace come over me and I felt God's presence. And from that moment forward, I got help. I reached out, I got a coach myself. I started getting myself physically fit. And I realized during that whole time that I didn't necessarily have a drinking problem. I did from the outside, but it was a deeper cause of that. I had to figure out what the root problem was. And the root problem was, first of all, I was unhappy with myself, but
Yep.
second of all, I was lacking discipline. Like not
Mm.
only did I not have the discipline to not drink, right? I couldn't control the beverages I was having, but I couldn't control the food I was intaking. I was 260 pounds at one point, very overweight. Me
Oh
being
wow.
5'8", right? I'm not very tall. So being almost 300 pounds at that height, it was doing something to me. It affected me. So I couldn't control my eating habits. I obviously couldn't control my drinking habits. I was broke, even though I was working, busting my butt. I didn't have money saved up. So this all led down to one thing. I lack discipline. I can't
Mm.
just tell myself to stop something or, on the weekend I said I would stop drinking, but then here I am drinking again. I'm saying I'm going to, spend money or save money, but here I am just buying beer, buying alcohol. So I had to get down to the root cause of it, which was discipline. So
Yeah.
once I formed the discipline, that's when everything else started changing. And I did that through nutrition. I did that through training. So, there were specific meals that I had to eat every single day. I tracked macros. There was 5 meals that I had to eat every single day from my trainer. There was a workout that I had to do every single day. So little by little, I started forming this discipline and this started carrying into other areas of my life. So
Hmm.
now I was able to say no to the burgers, to the fries, to the pizza, which led me to saying no to the alcohol, no to the
Yep.
beer. It helped me say no to the partying. It helped me say no to things. So I learned discipline through this whole, transition period. That's what really changed me to be like, you know what? I need to teach other men how to do this also. Within like 8 months, I lost over 100 pounds. I stopped drinking. People started asking me, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you losing this much weight? How are you getting sober? Not only how are you getting sober, but how are you staying sober? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I knew I had something going on here. How Warpath got invented was I had to create this alter ego. I had to create this guy, this person that I turned into when Richard felt like taking over. Now, Richard,
Mhm.
man, Richard loves to drink. Richard loves to
Yeah.
eat. Richard is a piece of you know what, right? So who do I become when that person wants to overtake me? Warpath comes out. And so I thought of Warpath because of the name. You know, Warpath is a hostile path that you take, right? It's blood, it's sweat, it's tears. It's this path that you have to get across. And that's how I felt. Like going through this transition period and getting sober, getting fit. There was hard days. There was, you know, days that I cried, days that I wanted to quit, but I had to get through those days in order to come out the other end. So that's when I developed the system that I have now that I teach other men how to do. And it's the Warpath method, the Warpath system, right? And it's just creating that alter ego of who you are, that higher self, that higher version. We all have this higher version that we can be, right? It's like, it's that person in the fourth dimension that no one really like taps into, but he's there. He's just waiting for you to uncover him. And so you have to get to that spot. You have to develop this person. And by doing that, it's through discipline. It's through, you know, training. It's through your mindset. It's through faith. And little by little, you start turning into that person that you're becoming. And so that's how I developed Warpath. That's how I developed the coaching that I did. I'm like, man, people are coming to me, asking me for help. You know, they see me do it. I'm getting sober. So I started doing that with like a small little group of people that I had around me. And little by little, that's what grew and turned into this business that I have now. And just by showing people, hey, this is what you do. This is how you eat. We're going to use all these systems that we have in place. Not only are you going to get fit, but you're going to build the discipline to get sober. And so that's what I teach people how to do now.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's amazing, brother. Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, that's what it is. It's discipline at the end of the day. And once you get in a routine, your brain just, you know, sticks to that. You build those habits and you start being more disciplined and being like, okay, if I do this, this is going to throw this off. So let's not even think about it. That's the same with, you know, anything else. As a parent, you know, you always think like, all right, I got to make sure I'm doing it so that I can carry it on over to them. Because again, if you're not consistent, they're going to be like, okay, is he serious right now?
Yeah.
You got to show that discipline even towards them, around them, because one thing we talk about is environment and building that environment. And as a family man, what are some things that you carry over from your training to the dad life to make sure, you know, your kids are doing well?
It's just holding my word, man. You know, if you say you're going to do something, do it, right? How you do one thing is how you do everything. And that's what I teach my kids. So if you say you're going to work out that day, make sure you go and you work out. I don't care if it's your best workout ever or if it's just getting in there, going through the motions, getting a pump in, right? Hold yourself accountable, hold yourself to your word. And that carries into other aspects of life, right? Like if I tell my family, hey, dad's starting this workout journey now, I'm going to lose this much weight, I'm going to get in shape. And I tell them that I need to hold my word to them. The reason is because if I don't, they're going to start questioning other things that I tell them, right? So when I tell my son, hey, son, I got you, man, I love you, right? He's going to say, well, dad, you always say things, but you never follow through with it. Do you really love me? You know what I mean? Like they start questioning these type of things. So this is where this whole thing, it's all connected, right? Your faith, your fitness, your finances, your family, it's all under that one umbrella of keeping your word to yourself, but not only to yourself, to the people that you love most. Because the moment that you stop your word and now you're going to give somebody else a way out. So if my kids see me quit, they think it's okay to quit. My son thinks it's okay to quit. My daughters start to believe, oh, well, dad started this, but then he stopped it. He's okay, right? If my dad did it, I can do it. So when they go through hard tasks in life and they want to quit, it's going to be very easy for them to do because they've seen it done before. They've seen their dad do it. So that's where I carry all this stuff that I do. I carry it over to everything that I say. And it's all of them keeping your word to yourself, holding yourself accountable, building that discipline. I think it all correlates together.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
No, that's solid. I always think about that in everything. Like I'm always cognizant of like what I do around the kids. Sometimes I can be a little rough, but like we talk about all the time is like explaining why this is happening with like discipline and things like that. Because we grew up being like, okay, you're doing that. And like, why? It's like, hey, just do it. When it's like it's better for them to understand why it's happening so it doesn't come back further down the road. Like, shoot, I used to get beat all the time. Like, or I used to go grounded all the time for no reason. I was like, actually, like, let's see what's going on here. Like, the disciplinary actions and why those happened, explaining it instead of just being like, no, that happened because of that. Because I said so. You know what I mean? And I
Right, and that's how a
noticed
lot of
on
dads are, right? Like, a lot of
yeah,
dads are like, "Eat your vegetables," but they're not eating their vegetables, right? They
Yep.
tell them, "Go
yep,
clean your room," but then you look at the dad's room or the dad's car, their dad's car's a mess, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't match up. As being a father, being a leader, like, you have to match your words, and if you're gonna tell your kids to do something, make sure you're doing it first. Like, there's no way that you could tell like, I couldn't tell my son, "Son, he's getting ready for tackle football this year, so we're getting him ready for that. It's his first year, and so I'm getting him, you know, prepped out for it. I'm making sure he's working out. I'm making sure he's eating right. That way, when he gets in there, he's good to go. So
Mm-hmm.
how can I tell my son, hey, son, you need to work out. You need to eat right because you have this goal. But then he looks at me and I'm not doing it. So he's gonna be like, all right, it's not adding up, right? My dad tells me to do something, but he doesn't even follow through on his word. Why should I do it? And I tell my kids, question everything. Just because I tell you to do something doesn't mean that, you know, you have to, like, of course, I'm your dad and you have to listen to me, you have to respect me, but also question it. Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why is my dad having me eat a certain way? Why does my dad want me to clean my room every single day? Oh, it's to build discipline to become this man that he's trying to, you know, build me to be. So, like, question it, right? Question authority. If teachers tell you, hey, you need to do your homework because of this, why do I need to do my homework? Oh, it's so I can get good grades, so I can get a better job, so I can set myself up later in life, you know? But if it doesn't add up, right, your words really don't hold any weight.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's yeah. I think about the vegetable thing, and shoot, I remember growing up. Shoot, I was like not eating certain foods. I was picky as heck. Now I'm like, I'll eat anything. I'll, my wife is like, I'll cook it up, whatever. All the vegetables. I might not be the biggest fan. I still eat it because it's good for you, of course. But there's also different ways you can spice them up a little bit to make sure they're tasty and stuff. Cause yeah, that's one of the hardest things is getting these kids to eat certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Cause maybe
Mhm.
we kind of spoiled them a little bit one day and they're like, oh, shoot, that's no good. Like, I don't want that. But staying consistent, getting back on track and making sure you're doing the same thing that you want them to also follow in.
But
Yeah.
then
Well, if you
also it
explain
goes
it
back
right, if you
to,
explain
yep,
why
there
you're
you
gonna
go.
have them eat a certain way, right? They understand it. You're not just telling
Mm-hmm.
them eat your vegetables, right? You explained it to them. You have to eat these vegetables because of this. So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
really going in and explaining like why do we do certain things? And that's why I'm saying like, you know, your kids should question why are you having them do certain things?
Yep.
You know, because sometimes parents just tell them to do it just because they were told to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Yeah.
never really thought about why do they do it? You know, why is there a certain reason why we do this type of stuff? You know, it's for a purpose, and there has to be a
Yep.
purpose behind everything because your kids are smart, man. They're going to figure you out one day or not, right? They're going to
Mm-hmm.
realize
Mm-hmm.
my dad's full of crap or he's serious about this and the reason why he's like this is for this particular reason. Like
Yep.
kids are smart, and that's why they don't just listen to what you say. They're going to mimic what you do at the end of
Oh
the
yeah.
day.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a big one too. They might not necessarily listen to everything you're saying, but they're gonna follow whatever you're doing. So
Mhm.
yeah, you got to create that environment. Now these kids are like, "Oh, I got to make sure I got protein in my lunch. I got to make
There
sure
you
I
go.
got protein in this."
There
I'm
you
like,
go. Absolutely. Like you said,
Mhm.
you just
"Oh,
gotta let them know
I
why
get
they're
some
eating it.
carbs in." Yeah, yeah,
Instead of just be
that's
like,
true.
here, you got to eat this. That's for dinner. Why are we eating this instead of pizza or instead of this? Well, we had that, and you understand that we can have it. We're just not gonna have it every night. You know, just explain to them on why we're eating this and why we're not eating that. And most times they're pretty cool with it, but most
No,
of
Mhm.
them
they're
are like,
pretty.
nah,
Yeah,
nah, I still ain't having
no,
it.
especially with candy. Like they'll know, like, no, that's too much sugar. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a
Yeah.
little bit every once in a long while or whatever, but that's good. Yeah, that's being a parent though. Like you got to make sure they're doing the right things because it's going to carry over in the long run. Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
100%.
So going through that. So with your kids, are they pretty good at going to church and everything?
Oh yeah, my kids love church, man. I mean, they want to go, you know, they're involved with it. And that's because we've instilled that in them from their, you know, very little.
Mhm.
You know, my son, he grew up in church, you know. We've been faithfully going to church for like the past like 4 or 5 years now. And but it's more about getting them involved with it too. So, you know, he has church friends that he goes and hangs out with. My daughters go to Wednesday night teen night. So they're having fun with it, right? It's not like I was raised Catholic. And Catholic to me was just boring. Like I went there, I sat there, I had no idea what they were talking about. There was no connection. It
Mhm.
wasn't until I converted to Christianity that I actually felt the presence of God and actually
Absolutely.
felt like, okay, this is a relationship more so than somebody telling me what to do. Like I
Mhm.
never really vibed with the priest. Like I had to go to him, tell him my sins, and then he would tell me what to say to God in order to
Mhm.
get forgiven, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now being a Christian, man, I have a direct connection with God. I don't
Yeah.
need to go to another man, tell him my sins to get forgiven. I can
Mhm.
just go straight to the source, you know?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, my kids love going to church, man. That's something that they're involved in. They love doing it. Every weekend we're praying together as a family. It's just building that foundation for them and allowing God to kind of do the rest.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
that's good. That's good. I know growing up, our grandpa, he's a pastor, and we even had a stint of living in the church and stuff. But it gets real strict, you know what I mean? Like there was very little you could do, and especially socially. I remember Pokemon. It was a big thing. And my grandma and grandpa were like, that's not around this house. And we were
Mhm.
kind of like, "Oh man, but that's so cool. Look at all the characters." Like, "Oh, okay, well." Do you ever think of that church would kind of interfere with that social aspect? Maybe, you're restricting too much or something like that. And I think that's a good idea for, the churches to make it more interesting, as in like catering to certain age groups and like that. Like you're saying, the teen night and things like that. That's awesome because
Mhm.
we had that, but later on in life where it was like now you're just going just to hang out with your friends instead of actually listening. You know what I mean? But
Right. Yeah.
how do you feel about that aspect if, let's say, your daughter is, like, "Okay, I'm not really connecting here."
Like as far as like now, like she's going to church and she doesn't
Yeah,
feel the presence of God, or like she
yeah.
just isn't like going. Like, what's the question again?
So if like yeah, like she's going through the motions and she sees like I was saying, the social aspect where everybody,
Hmm.
you get older, you start wanting to hang out with your friends and she's like, "Okay, my friends are doing this, but I should be doing this, but I'd rather be
Hmm.
doing that with my friends." How do you talk to them and be like, "Hey, it's okay to do that, but, we need to also do this because this is priority." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like raising them and instilling these values, right? These
Yep.
core values of what our family stands for, right? Like we all have in my family, we have values. We have core values and beliefs that we stand on. Like we're God fearing people. Like me and my family, we will serve the Lord. We don't serve the world. So they're gonna have outside influences, obviously,
Yeah.
right? There's social media, there's celebrities, there's people out there that are gonna influence your children. So if you're not in your children's life
Mhm.
speaking, if you're not the loudest voice in your kid's ear, the world is going to be,
Yep.
right? And so
Yep.
that's where you have to be,
That's
especially as
true.
a dad. And I'm coming from a
Yes.
leadership perspective here as the father. My wife, she has her role, right? As being the mother, the woman. My wife's role is to show what a godly woman looks like, right? My role
Mhm.
as the father is to show what a leader, what a God fearing man looks like. That way, later on down the line, when she gets involved in a relationship and she's ready to meet, a husband, she knows what qualities to go for, right? Like,
There you
what does a man of God look like? How does he treat women? And I think that all comes down from the example of what I'm showing, right? Like, how am I treating my wife? How are
Mhm.
my kids seeing me? And how do I live my life? Like, I'm the example. Going back to what we're saying about your kids are going to really mimic what you do versus what you
Mhm.
say, it all comes down to that, right? So not I don't really have to like tell my kids what to do. They already see it. Like they
Mhm.
see me on social media, but I don't use social media the way that other dads use it, right? Like other
Yeah.
dads are on there scrolling, liking other girls' pictures, right? Like doing social media in a different way. Whereas
Mhm.
me, I'm sharing the gospel. I'm sharing, God. I'm showing how you can still be part of the world, but not be of the world in the sense,
Yep.
if that
Yep.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so we have to really just show them, man, like you can still have fun, you can still have relationships, but you need to have standards. You need to have
Yeah.
Yep.
values, you need to have morals, and you need to stick by those. Because if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, right? We've all
There you
heard that
go.
saying.
Yep.
And so that's why I think it's very important that at a very young age, you start to instill these values into them. Because
Mhm.
now that's just who they are. They don't
Yep.
want to go off and they don't want to do what other kids are doing their age because they know it's not right. They weren't
Mhm.
raised that way, but if they're being raised that way, like if I was, for example, going off and drinking still and partying, they're going to want to do that, right? Because they
Mhm.
see dad do it, but they see me going to church, they see me, lifting weights, they see me go to the gym, so they naturally gravitate towards that now.
Yep.
Now I can't protect my kids, we can't protect our kids from everything. The only
There
thing
you
that we can do as parents is show them by example, and then hopefully they make the right decision from that point on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's
Yep.
true. And one of the things that happens usually as parents is, and I think you brought it up on one of your clips, but as, our fathers, they were doing some kind of, they were in their own world, you know what I mean? The way they were raised, and that translates over to how you are and to a certain extent. But you and what you do around the social media and stuff that I've seen is like leading that right direction for other fathers to, step up and have those conversations. And I thought that was awesome, dude. I think it was
Mhm.
one where, you said, my dad never said I loved you, or he said I loved you like one time or something like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
dang, dude, that's straight up. I didn't really,
Yeah.
know my real father, but our stepdad, he was more connected, but at the same time, those fathers do only as much as they know. You know what I mean? You can't
Mhm.
hold too much to them, because shoot, they don't have. There's no rule book with being a
Yeah.
dad. You know what I mean?
Right.
We do the best we can, and I'm fortunate enough to, be around other fathers that are doing great things to learn from them to, see, okay, whoa, shoot, I shouldn't have done that with them because that's probably gonna hit me in the rear end later down the road or anything like that. You know what I mean? So having
Mhm.
somebody like you out there, promoting these better ways of parenting instead of
Mhm.
following what you know or what you were raised up doing, it's like one of those things. What was it? It was some video where it was like, "Oh, I gotta get the switch out because that's how we used to do it." It's like, "Nah, dude, you don't got you don't gotta do all that." Like, just
Yeah.
show them what's going on and explain
Yep,
to them.
absolutely.
No, those are
Communicate.
the generational traumas, right, that get passed
Yeah.
down from generation to generation. And, that's why, like, I believe that there's one person in the whole family, which is like the black sheep, but that's the person that changes the whole generation from that point forward, right?
Mhm.
So, like, you might be that person for your family to where you're doing the hard changes, you're doing the hard work, and life is probably more difficult for you than anybody else, right? Like, I used to always think about, like, why do people that don't have a relationship with God, like they're evil, or like they're all partying, they're doing all kinds of stuff, but they're rich, they have money, right? They're way more successful than somebody that I see that is a God-fearing man. You have this
Yep.
God-fearing man who's struggling, man. He's making it paycheck to paycheck, but he's in church every Sunday. He's always faithful, reading his Bible, but he's struggling. But then you get another guy who's a celebrity who's just drinking on the weekends, partying, and he's rich, he has all this money, right? And that's just because, like, we live two different lives, but we're doing the right thing, and you have to
Mhm.
just stick to those morals and values. But there's one person that always changes that generation. And for me, like, I'm that person in my family. I'm changing the habits. I'm stopping the drinking. Like, people see me, and like the rest of my family, they're still drinking, they're still partying. I don't. So my family and my generation, it's gonna stop here. God forbid,
Mhm.
like, I hope my son doesn't pick it up, and then his son won't pick it up. But yeah, these are just generational traumas that are getting passed down until one person steps up and says, this ends here. This is it. This is where it stops. And it's hard. It's hard to do that because nobody really has your back. Like, I get crap
Mhm.
from my family because I'm the way I am, right? They want me to go party, still drink, but I'm like, that's not what I do no more.
Yep.
If you want to hang out with me, let's go to the gym.
There you go.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's get this chest day in.
Yep. Yep.
That's true. No, yeah, and there's always different ways to connect. It doesn't have to be, late night partying or anything like that. Go freaking me and Brian will go golfing or something like that. There's
Hmm.
different things you can do. There's not just every day or, when we meet up. That's how I used to be too. Whereas any situation, I felt like, okay, I gotta have a beer. Like I don't know if it was like a social thing where it was like, okay, I gotta, have a drink for this
Yeah.
occasion. Then you start, getting older or, a little wiser or whatever. You're like, it's not worth it, man. Let's have a good time. Let's play these games. We're good. I don't need that beer
Yep.
right now. We're good.
There you go.
I'm not gonna lie
Yeah.
to you.
You
I
start
do have a
changing
beer
little by
here and there,
little.
but it's not like it's controlled where even my kids will notice, like, okay, he has a couple beers, but it's not like he ain't getting freaking hammered or something like the guy over here. Yeah. Like, so
Yeah.
it's all
And we
about
always have that, right?
moderation.
Like, we can justify that, right? It's like, well, at least I'm not like that guy, right? Or at least I'm not
Yeah.
doing
Oh,
that.
that's true.
So
That's
we could
true too.
always compare ourselves, and that's like a slippery slope there,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
Because it's like we're comparing what our life is to somebody else's life, but we have two different lives. Like, for
Yep.
me,
Yep.
dude, I can't just have one beer because
Mhm.
I can't stop at that. Like, you are more
There.
disciplined in that aspect than I am because I can't just have one. If I have
Mhm.
one, dude, I'm gonna want 30 more, that come
Yep.
along with that one. So
Yep.
for me
Yeah.
personally, that's why it's my decision, me personally. And that's what everybody's like, dude, like, like, you don't drink, you don't allow anybody to drink in your program. It's like, no, like, I have nothing against alcohol. It's just the fact that me personally, I can't
There you
do it.
go. Absolutely.
And that's why I make that decision, because if I do, it's going to turn me into a person that I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to make that distinguish. It's like, all right, is it worth it, basically, right? Is this one drink really worth it? And if I can't, I tell people this: try to stay sober for 6 months. That will tell you right there if you have a problem or not. Because if
Yeah.
you are thinking about it obsessively and you're over here like, man, it's been 3 months, I still have 3 more months to go, I really want a beer. Like, that's telling you that you are kind
Yeah.
of dependent on it. But if
Yeah.
you can go 6 months, not think about it, you're like, man, that was easy. 6 months, I'm good. I could have one. You probably don't have an issue with it, right?
Yeah.
But, I tell people, if you can't go like 6 months, half a year without any alcohol, without any type of vice, that tells you right there, you probably have a little issue with it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it's
Good
not,
job.
yeah,
Yeah.
not beneficial to you at all. It's not
Yeah,
something.
that's where you have to weigh your options, right? Like,
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people tell me, like, well, I'm a business owner, I have a good job, I make all this money, like, I can enjoy a beer. Hey, I get that. That's no problem. Cool.
Yeah.
But how much better would you be if
There
you
you
took
go.
the alcohol out? You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, if you're killing it with it, imagine how much you could do without it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, yeah, the frequency thing, like, no, because there's so much things that you can be more productive on.
Mm-hmm.
Because that thing
Well,
will,
people say, right? Like, I use it to relax at night. Okay, I get that. And that's cool. Like, you use it to relax, you have that. But why do you need it to relax, right? Like, what
yeah.
is it that you can't relax without it? And I'm not talking about you or anybody else. I'm talking about just the person in
Yeah.
general that
Yep.
says, "Well, I
Absolutely.
have a glass of wine every night." All right, try not having a glass of wine for 3 months. Can you do that? And if you can, great. If not, that might tell you got a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Sure.
that's, yeah. No, and that's what I tell even my clients and stuff is like, go ahead, have your beverage, but just look at the effects, especially, at night. Yeah, you have a nightcap. Okay, how early are you having it? Because it's going to mess up your sleep. You're not going to get the
Mhm.
best quality sleep, and sleep is super important. So let's look at that. And then also, daily routines and how productive you are. Okay, have your beer, I guess, but how about something else? Make sure we're
Mhm.
hydrated. Get your protein shake.
And two, like, you might not have the problem, right? Like, let's say, for example, you're cool. You can have one drink and be fine, right? But your son is the one that has that alcoholic like
Oof.
symptom, right? He's the one that has that disease or whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, your son looks at you now and he
Yeah.
says, well, my dad was always cool. He was controlling himself, he had a job, he took care of us. My dad was a great guy. But he also had a few beers. There's nothing wrong with it. Let me have a few beers. So he grows up, he has a few beers, but then he gets in the car and he gets the DUI.
Mm,
Or God forbid, he hurts himself, he hurts
yeah.
somebody else. Where did he see that from? He saw it from you, right? So if you knew that, you'd feel really bad. You'd be like, man, like, he saw me drink and that gave him the green light to want to drink himself. And this is the issue that he got himself into from that. Like, man, you know what I mean? So that's why I tell people, man, just be aware. You might
Yeah.
not have the problem, but your little cousin might. And your little cousin sees you drink all the time. He's the one that grows up and he's the one that has the alcoholic,
Hey,
addiction.
that's true.
He's the one that gets the DUI, right? And he all learned that because he saw you do it. Now, you're not a
Yeah.
bad person by any means. He just saw you do it. And so, like, that's why I think us as leaders, right, as somebody that is in that position, we just have to be mindful of that stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
that's another reason why I don't drink. I know that I'm in a position where people look up to me. So if they see me on the weekends having a beer, that's going to probably, give them the green light to have a beer. And I just don't want
Ooh,
them to mess their life up the way I did.
yeah. That's solid too. Because as trainers, even, I mean, specifically as trainers, shoot, even me, going to the store or something, I have to be aware because, I mean, people know
Hmm.
me. They know I'm a
Yeah.
trainer. And if I'm over there picking chips and soda pop or something like that, I'm like, what kind of trainer are you, dude?
Yeah, they see
It's
you
like,
do it. They're like, oh, cool. So my
like,
trainer
oh,
does it.
shoot.
Let me do it, right? So yeah, I
Yeah,
get it.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a
So with all,
responsibility.
Yeah. So with all this, what is something that's helped you stay balanced with, your fitness training, training yourself and keeping the family good and together?
God, man, everything has to come from God. He's the center. He's the center of it
Okay.
all. There's an umbrella that I live under, and it's God. God is that umbrella that covers me. He shields me. He protects me. Right. He's the ultimate guy that I look up to. Right. Like, Jesus is my role model. So I try to live my life as best as I can to him. I'll never be close to him. I'm never gonna be perfect. but it's just something that I strive to be, right? He was a good person. Like Jesus hung around prostitutes. He hung around, bad people. He hung around people that killed people, but he was like that positive person in their life. And so that's what keeps me balanced, man, is just having God at the center of everything. I just ask myself, I have this bracelet, what would Jesus do? Right. So every single situation or every choice I come across, I just have to look down and say, okay, what would Jesus do in this situation? Okay, he would do this, or he would probably do that. So that, for the most part, keeps me balanced. But like I said, I'm not perfect, man. I make mistakes. I argue with my wife. I'm not the best dad sometimes. I get mad and upset, but it keeps me in check because I have something I'm striving to
No,
be,
yeah.
which is
Yep.
Jesus, at the end of the day. And so, yeah, that's what keeps me balanced, man, is just having him at the center. And I know when I don't have him at the center, because I'm trying to do things on my own. I'm stressing out about money more. I'm stressing out about other stuff. Like I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I'm a big warrior guy. Like not a warrior. I'm a warrior. Like, I
Oh,
worry
gotcha.
about everything,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I worry
I was
about
like,
stuff. How am I going to pay bills? How am I going to, take care? How am I going to send my daughter to college? Like, how am I going to do all this stuff? So I know when I'm thinking that way that I'm trying to live under my own terms. But when I'm thinking of like, what,
that's
God's going to
true.
provide. He always
Mhm.
does. God has never failed me. Then I can start thinking along those lines. And that's what keeps me centered. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. I don't got to stress. Like just do X, Y, and Z every day and I'm good.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. That's something that Brian has been talking about lately too, is because he gets real anxious. He's got some real anxiety problems where he was at a point where he couldn't even drive uh 30 minutes away from the house. Oh, there he is. He disappeared. But he said he started, really being faithful and, going to church, and he was like, I'm just gonna have, Jesus take the wheel pretty much and just be like, okay, he's got it. He's got it. And I don't know. Tell us your story, dude. Tell us your aspect on how you feel about your worrying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that earlier. Yeah, so I dealt with a lot of mental health issues, or I thought I did, trying to be in control, just trying to be in control of everything I felt like I needed
Exactly,
to
yeah.
be. And
Hmm.
so, I started going to church and just kind of realized, hey, buddy, you're not in control, So once I kind of awakened or awoke myself, I'm just like, hey man, like this, all of this, none of this is under your control, and just giving it to God, and just letting Him take control. And it's really changed my life, to be honest with you, man. Because like I said, I can do whatever I want to, but like I said, end of the day, I'm not in control. God's got a plan for
Yeah.
me, so I'm just trusting God's plan and just staying faithful to that. And it's honestly, it's really helped me out a lot. And hearing your story has really just inspired me as well, even more, because I mean, it's thank God, man. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think about this, that the stuff that we worry about the most is where we trust God the least, right?
Hmm.
So if you're always worrying about bills and your money, that's where you trust God the least. That's where you need to work on those areas to bring those areas up as far as your trust, because you're always worried about it.
Hmm.
If it's about your marriage or if it's about your business, well, guess what? Those are the areas, those are the red flags that you need to work on, because that's where you're worrying and you're not allowing God to do what God does. God
Hmm.
is going to take care of you. He's faithful. He's never let you down before. So why would he let you down now? You know?
Yep. Yep.
And one of my favorite verses, I think it's Matthew 6 or something like that, where he talks about the birds, right? Like he talks about how the birds don't worry about what they're going to eat, what clothes they wear. They're not, storing a bunch of food. They just trust God. And
Hmm.
if God loves them, how much more do you think he loves us? Because we're God's most prized possession. Like God made us in his image, right? Like we're
Hmm.
everything to God. So if he takes care of the birds, something as little as them, why wouldn't he take care of you? And once
Absolutely.
I think about that, I'm like, man, that's such a good indication. And I love it because I hear birds chirping all the time. You wake up in the
Hmm.
morning, you hear birds, right? So to me, it's like a good reminder
Yep.
that, hey, these birds are chirping. God is still here. God was the same God he was back then as he is now. There's nothing to
Hmm.
worry about. Just fully
Yeah.
trust him and you'll be all right.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
And as a trainer, we're gonna switch it up to, your training and how you train. So you have a father, and he's in that situation where he's getting overwhelmed, and he feels like, okay, I can't do my workout because I'm not getting any sleep or whatever it is. What kind of things would you say to him to make sure, hey, you're on the right path?
Yeah, first of all, you have to take some evaluation on your life. Like kind of like what I do is I'll grab guys and I'll have them start making a list, right? A pros and cons list. All right, what thing has God provided for you? What are prayers that God's already answered for you, right? And how has he showed up in your life? and you start doing this exercise and you start realizing like, man, like God helped my marriage. God brought me through this situation. God allowed me through here, and you start thinking about all the good stuff. And I think that's why gratitude is so important. You
Yeah.
have to be grateful. If
Yeah.
you're not grateful, it's easy for you to fall into that trap, right? And start
Mhm.
thinking like, oh my gosh, and start
Mm-hmm.
freaking out. So I have guys evaluate themselves. Where are you at in your life? What areas are you not taking control? And what areas are you allowing the enemy to kind of come in and take
Yeah.
God's place?
Mhm.
And so that means every day, though, because we have to pick up our cross, we have to choose every day to surrender and die to our own flesh. Now,
Mhm.
when you're worrying about stuff, that means that you're living in your flesh. But when you're outside of that and you're living under God's control, you don't have that worry. You don't have that
Mhm.
stress. So, and a lot of it comes down to like, ourselves. Like, yes, Jesus will take the wheel. Yes, Jesus is the navigator. He knows exactly where we're going, but we still got to do the driving. We still got to do the work.
Yep.
And I think a
Yep.
lot of times guys are struggling in that area because they're not doing it.
Mhm.
And that's where anxiety comes from, right? Anxiety and stress, it comes from something that we're not doing. It's something deep down inside that we're worrying about because we know we have to take action in that particular area and we're not taking action. So to me, stress and anxiety, it's not bad in the sense, it's more of a signal. It's more of like
Mhm.
it's an alert. Hey, something's going on. You're having anxiety over this situation. All right, where do you need to take action with that? So we go back to the basics. How's your sleeping? How's your nutrition? Are you eating properly? Are you sleeping enough? Are you drinking water? Are you doing the necessities that you can do for yourself? And then the rest, you got to release and let go to God.
Mhm.
Everything else, you have to just let Him go. Right. So that's why in my program, in what I do, that's the foundation is yes, we use nutrition, we use fitness to form the discipline that you're going to need in all areas to change it. So now you're eating right, you're sleeping good, you're staying hydrated with everything, you're reading your Bible, you're doing everything right. And just from that alone, people's lives start changing because now
Yep.
they're doing some positive stuff.
Mhm.
Whereas before they were just coming home, kicking their boots off, grabbing a beer, watching TV, right? Just wasting their life away. So now you're actually like taking an account of your life, you're taking control, and then you're letting God fill in the gaps where you don't have that control.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look
And
at that.
something I do love that you said is just being grateful, being grateful. A lot of people aren't grateful or take it for granted at times. And so some certain stuff will start happening. Like, well, just time out, take a step back. I mean, but look at everything you do have. Okay. Sure, maybe this isn't going how you planned it. Sure, this isn't. Sure, that might have been messing up, whatever it might be. But let's just take a step back and be grateful for where we are now at now and what we do have. And then like, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm over here tripping about this. And you know what? You're right. I just need to be grateful that, I do have this. And you know what? That wasn't that big of a deal because it got taken care of. I said, see, just take a step back, be grateful. God is good and he got you. He's got us. So just be
Mhm.
grateful. That's something I've been working on too. Every morning, just wake up grateful. Thank God, that first of all, we woke up, and we got roof over our head. And I mean, life's good. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why it's important. You have to read the Bible. You have to read the word because that's what God's going to speak to you through that. And it's very easy. Like if you don't have your Bible, like I have like 6 Bibles and I just have them all around the house. Right. And so this is my Bible that I read. Obviously you could tell it's all, used up and stuff like that. But if you don't have God's word in your head, guess whose words you're going to have in your head? The enemy, right? You're
Hmm.
going to have the devil. And the devil likes to lie. He likes to deceive. Like that's his whole point is to lie, deceive, to kill you. Right. And so those words are going to pop into your head of I'm worthless. I'm not worthy enough. I'm going to fail. I'm a bad father. I'm a bad husband because that's basically what's in your mind. But
Yep.
if you have God's word in your mind, scripture is going to come to the top of your head. And then
There you
that's
go.
where you're going to have those positive, words coming through. And
Yep.
so that's why it's very, very important that that's not like just a checklist that you have to do. There's a reason behind it, and you
Hmm.
have to read your word to get that into your head and to be
Yep.
fed basically.
That's solid right there. Cause
Hmm.
yeah, sometimes we get up, we turn our phones on and we see all this negative stuff instead of, you could read the Bible, see what's on there, be like, or even just remember like, hey, we're good, be
Mhm.
positive. And that's something that today at the gym, one of my guys, he was out there working the floor and he was like, dude, there's a lot of negative energy. I was like, all right, let's turn it around, dude.
There you go.
Let's turn it
Mhm.
There you
around.
go.
All right. Let's be put a smile on. Let's say, let's be happy we're here. Let's be happy
Yeah.
we're, we got this place to socialize and talk to people about how our day's going, or maybe we're struggling somewhere, but maybe somebody could prop us up. Maybe we're having a bad day and we just need somebody to, lend their ear for a sec.
Yeah.
Make
You
that
got to
day
change
That's why I
that
usually go into
frequency,
the
you know?
gym. I usually go into the gym hot and with positivity and just, because maybe people just have all day long, just people just like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's up? I come in there, what's going on, everybody? Warm back. Let's get it going. Bring the
There
energy.
you go.
And then usually, I
Yep.
mean, like I said, that's all they need a little bit. And like, okay, you know what? Yeah, thank you for that. And let's get this
Let's
workout in.
get it.
Because a lot of times people are
Yep.
just
Mhm.
like all day long, they're just going through the motions all day long. But then if somebody just I don't know, like, where'd this guy come from? Come on, let's get this energy up. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
We come here to have fun, to enjoy it, and to get healthy. And so usually,
That's
like I
right.
said, I just because it's good to have it, man. Good to be positive in there. I mean, sure, a lot of times when we go in there, we're not in the right headspace. 90% of the time when we leave there, we're in a lot better space. The quicker we get there, the
Mhm.
better.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah, you got to change the frequency, right? Like that's all it is. It's just energy, right? And we're just exchanging that energy, you know? And I always think about this, man, like when you go to the gym, right? And you're leaving, let's say you're leaving or you're getting there and people
Mhm.
are leaving, right? They're coming out the gym door. 9 times out of 10, I never have ran into somebody that walks out of the gym unhappy. Like
Yeah.
every time I cross paths, I'm going into the gym, somebody's coming out. They're like, "Hey, bro, have a good workout. Here's they're
Yep.
holding the door open for me.
Yep.
They're vibing high because they just did something positive. They just
Mhm.
lifted. They just changed their frequency, right? And so it gives it off to that, right? So you might have somebody walking into the gym like that, feeling down, depressed, but then by the time they leave, they're a whole
Oh, yeah.
different person. They're
Oh,
over
yeah.
here like, excited and stuff like that. So yeah, in order to change that, because I usually wake up like in a not a bad mood, but like negative, right? Like
Yeah.
I automatically wake up like, oh gosh, like let's see what happens today. That's just
Yeah.
me. So I have to change that. I have to literally read something positive. I have to do something positive, and that's how I change my frequency is I add a positive action with a positive thought and it
Mhm.
equals a positive outcome. So I'm
Absolutely.
Yeah.
thinking positive, I'm doing something positive. There's really no way that you can't be positive after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you
And
go.
that's one thing we do highly encourage, man. Just going to the gym. A lot of times,
Mhm.
a lot of us don't want to go to the gym. Even me, sometimes I'm like, man, I don't really want to go today. But I know if I don't, then I'm just going to be stuck in this weird space that I'm in. Once you get in
Right.
there and you just, like I said, we say, just hop on the treadmill if you don't feel like doing it. Just pick up a weight. Because I tell you, by the time you leave there, you're going to feel like a total different person. A total different person. Like I
Mhm.
said, you're going to be smiling. And like I've had people come and working out with me and they don't want to be there, especially because I'm usually, like I said, pretty wild at times. So like, this guy needs to shut up. And by the
Yeah.
time I get done with them, they're like, oh man, now they're same energy as me. They're having fun and like, okay, because I usually take it before when they're all pissed off and grumpy, and then afterwards I'm like, see, I told you, look,
There you
look,
go.
where's your energy at now? Come
Yo,
on.
what I'm talking
There
So
you
about.
like I
go.
said, just go to the gym, man. I know a lot of times we don't want to go to the gym, but it's gonna change the whole week. Like I said, Monday, like oh, I don't want to go today because it's Monday, and it's Monday. Whatever, I'll go tomorrow. No, just start Monday. Start the week off. I usually try to start on Sunday though, 'cause I like to start the week off on Sunday. But if you just go there, it'll get you just in a better headspace, and then be like, okay, I did it today, and it'll just keep roller coaster. It's those good habits that we're all talking about. Those good habits that we build, and you never know who's watching. Like I said, for y'all, your kids for other people, maybe just somebody. Like there's this kid at the gym who every time I go in there, he wants to take a picture of me. And whenever I'm not there, he's like, "Where were you at, Brian? I didn't see you." I said, "Well, I'm here now." So you never know who's watching you.
Exactly.
Yep,
It's that accountability from the others. That's what happens.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, good.
And I get
So
called out. I know I get called out, which I don't mind.
so
It's
you have
accountability.
your
You need it.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. That's what I always say like, "Oh, Robert is gonna call me out for not being here because he's a shit talker and he's gonna say something." Like,
Yeah.
I gotta be
I
there.
like Robert.
But, no, going through all that, being a online coach, what is the biggest struggles that you go through as an online coach?
Biggest struggles, I mean, you're talking from like a business standpoint or more just like myself. Like, obviously with being an entrepreneur, right, in any business, there's going to be issues, right? There's going to be struggles, things happen, but I honestly don't think of them as like in a negative way. I think
Yeah,
that like, problems are they're just solutions that you just haven't solved yet, right? You haven't came
there you go.
across on how to do it. And so
Yep.
every single problem that you have, it's a good thing, and I've learned how to kind of look at my problems as like a positive because once I figure out the solution to that problem, now I'll have that answer for the rest of my life. And then I'll
Absolutely.
be able to pass that on to other people, right? So
Hmm.
that's all it is. Being an entrepreneur is you're just a big problem solver. You're
Yep.
literally just putting fires out left and right, figuring stuff out, all right, cool. I learned from this. I didn't learn
Yeah.
from that. I need to do that differently. And then you make the changes, and then that's how you grow. Right. And so it's just like the same thing. Any entrepreneur knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you're of course, money's going to be one of those areas you're going to stress about. How am I going to pay the bills? It's a slow month, a slow week, but that's where your faith comes in. That's
Okay,
where
there
everything
it
that we're
is.
talking about, you have to utilize this stuff, and you have to create that man that just doesn't buckle under pressure.
There it is.
Create that warrior that just knows, like, I'm going to be taken care of. Like I said,
Mhm.
if God's going to take care of these birds, why wouldn't he take care of me?
Yep.
And I'm a big believer that God placed this business into my life, or he allowed me to do this business, because I was doing HVAC for 15, 16 years. And then I think God put me through all this stuff that I was going through, being an
Mhm.
alcoholic, losing my family, being overweight, struggling with my mental health. I think all that was for a reason, was
Yep.
so I can figure out how to get across that. And now I teach other men how to do that.
Yep.
So if God gives you the business idea, or he allows those doors to open, he's going to also bring you the clients. He's going to bring you the answers. He's going to bring you everything. So that's why you
Mm.
have to have God at the center. And that's going
Yep.
to always be across the board, no matter what. Being a dad, being an
Yes.
entrepreneur, being a husband, have God at the center and you'll be fine. It's when
Yep.
we want to take control, we want to get involved, that's when we mess things up.
Trust me,
Yeah.
I've been there,
Yeah.
done that. No, thank you.
Yep.
What would you tell other coaches that are trying to, follow the same path you are? And, that's just, there you go. Put God in the
I would
center of
tell
it.
them, you have to not only, I mean, God's at the center, that's a given, right? We have to have him there, but also don't look at this from like a monetary perspective of how can I get the richest, right? Like, you have to be willing to do this for free. Like, I would
Yep.
I would do this for free. Thank God I'm able to make a living off of it, but I would still probably do it no matter what, because I just love helping people, and
Mhm.
fitness is like one of those passions that I have now, and
Right.
it's just turned into something that I'm just really passionate about. I love the ministry aspect of it, of bringing people closer to God, right? So I'm a big believer in the more value that I provide to people, the more successful I'll be. So if you're trying
Yeah.
to be in this space, you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you're trying to be an online coach, don't focus about the money, because 9 times out of 10, man, you're not going to make enough, or you're going to want to make more, right? That's just being an entrepreneur. You always want more. But if you could focus on the value that you're bringing, I think that's where you have to focus on. The more value you bring, the more money you're going to make.
Yep. Yep. Love that. Love that.
There we
Great.
go. And that's what I hear from like all trainers. Like they're not doing it for the money. If you're a good trainer, whenever you're just like, man, I love helping people.
Yep.
That's my main
Mhm.
goal, is making
Mhm.
sure the people that I'm training are getting where they need to be. The money, yeah, it's there, but number one goal is making sure my clients get to their goals,
Absolutely.
get better, because at the end of the day, at the end of all of it, they're gonna be a better person overall. So heck
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
dude.
And that's
That's
probably
awesome.
one of, like, when you're questioning, what's like the most difficult thing of your job, or, what's something you struggle with. I think it's that aspect of it, of knowing that people need help, knowing
Yep.
that they're letting themselves down, they're letting their family down, and you could help them, but they're just not willing to even step up to the plate to get the help.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I wish I can grab people and just be like, bro, like, let me help you. Let me have you change your physique. Let me help you build a relationship to God. And they're just stubborn, or they don't think that they need help.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm fine. I'll figure it out myself. It's like, bro, if you could have figured it out yourself, you would have done it years ago.
Yep.
Yep.
There's a reason why you keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. There's a reason why you're 100 pounds overweight. There's a reason why you've tried this fitness thing and then you keep falling off and keep, failing, coming back on. You need accountability, and
Yep.
that's a big aspect of my job. It's like, I'm a big believer in, you only need 3 things to be successful when it comes to this fitness thing. If you want to get a transformation and you want to change your physique and change your body, you need 3 things. Obviously, you need the right nutrition, right? You need to know how to eat, and how to eat for your goals and your body. Secondly, you need to train properly. You
Mm.
can't be doing a bunch of cardio if you're trying to build muscle. It's just not
Yep.
the right training for that.
Yeah.
And then
Cut
thirdly is
that. Cut the
accountability.
work.
You need to have somebody hold you accountable, because there's gonna be days and difficult times where you're not gonna want to do it. You're gonna wake up, you're gonna be sore, you're gonna be tired, your mind's gonna play tricks on you. So
Mhm.
who's gonna hold you accountable at that point? And if it's just you, you're always going to trick yourself into justifying why you shouldn't go to the gym. I got a busy day today, or I got to rest. I pushed it hard yesterday. I deserve to, take a break today. But if you have a
Yep.
coach pushing you and telling you, no, bro, like, we need to work out. No, you need to
Yeah.
get today's training done. No, you need to eat this way. Like that's what pushes you forward. And that's
Yep.
what really moves the needle. So if you have those three things, the right nutrition, the right training structure, and the right accountability, you will get there as long as you don't
Yep.
quit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what Brian mentioned before is we can give you the blueprint, but I mean, you got to put in the work. I mean,
Mhm.
you got to make that
Yeah.
decision to
We can give
walk
you
through that
everything.
gym door.
Just like leading a horse to water. We can lead that horse to water, but we can't make him drink, you know? And
Yep.
that's something that
Exactly.
like you said, it doesn't feel good, you know, because we want to so bad. Like, come on, man. If I could just crawl in your body and just work out for you, I would and do this stuff and live a healthier
Mhm.
lifestyle for you, for your family. I mean, for your friends, for whatever it might be. Like, it's so beneficial, man. And like I said, we just want to help anybody and everybody who wants the help. But it sucks whenever the
Yeah.
people you do care about don't want the help.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. I wish I did this years ago, guys. Like I wish I made this transformation, this change years ago. Like that's my only regret when it comes to this. People always ask me, "What's your biggest regret in life?" I wish I did this years ago to where
Yeah.
I could have avoided a lot of mistakes. I could have avoided a lot of pain that I put myself in, that I put my family in.
Yep.
Like if I would have just listened to somebody and somebody told me like 8 years ago, "Hey bro, just stop doing this and do this now and your life will be completely different," and I would have listened to that, man, that would have changed a lot. That would have helped me
And
out
I
a
was
lot.
about to
But
say that,
that's part of life.
Yeah.
but would you have listened to that though?
Exactly.
That's
You
true
know what
too.
I mean?
That's
And
true
I
too.
probably
Yeah.
wasn't at that
Yeah.
point because
Yeah.
we all know what we need to do, right? We all know we need to eat healthy. We all know we need to work out. We all know we need to do certain things, but why don't we do it? Because
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
ready. You know what I mean? We're not there, or we
Absolutely.
think we know better. We think,
Yep.
oh, we have time. And that's another thing, man. Everybody thinks that they have time. You really don't. Like
No.
you have what? Maybe at the most, maybe 80 summers your whole life if you're
Mhm.
living to your 80 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like you really don't have that much time. And half of that is being wasted when you're in your 20s, your 30s, like messing up,
Yep.
So really you're only left with like a good
That's
20
true.
summers that you can enjoy,
That's true.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I always think about that with my kids. Like, shoot, I only have a certain amount of time with them. I might as well, stay in shape, make sure they don't beat me at anything, and have
Hmm.
a good time with them instead of, sitting on the couch, playing video games all day or something like that, and, being unhealthy and not being able to go play soccer with them or football or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Cause I
Yeah.
mean, like you said, we don't got that much time, especially
Yeah, we don't.
with little bitties, man. Sheesh.
Yeah, I know. And everybody thinks like, oh, I'll do it next year or I'll do it next month, right? It's
Exactly.
like you're over here thinking that you have that. Like, what if you, God
Yeah.
forbid, you don't have next month, and you
Yep.
Yep.
just wasted that time when you could have done
Yep.
stuff now,
Yep.
and especially like building muscle and stuff, man. This takes time.
Mhm.
Losing fat and stuff like that, you could do that pretty quick, but building the muscle and getting the actual physique, I think
Yep.
that's where a lot of guys they don't realize that it takes a lot of effort and
Yeah.
doing things consistent. There's a
They're
Mhm.
not
lot of
patient.
consistent people out there, but they're not consistently doing the right things. They're consistently doing the wrong things, but they're not consistently doing the right things. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like, that's where you have to build that up and be able to do that. So, at the end of the day, what are you really left with? You're really left with a very limited time to get all this done.
Yep.
Because by the
Yeah.
time we age, man, us men, we get into our 50s and 60s and our bodies just aren't the same, as they used to
Yeah.
be. Our
Yep.
Yep.
testosterone is dipping and, kids and stress and life. And yeah, so utilize the time that you have now,
That's
especially
true.
with your kids, because they are growing by the minute. Like I
Seriously.
swear, man, my 15-year-old, I have 3 years with her,
Mm.
until she's 18. Three
Yeah.
years, my
That's
baby.
wild. Oh my
It's
Yeah.
just
gosh.
crazy to think about, right? It's like at
Yeah.
18 years old, they can go off and they can be their own
Yep.
adult and, whatever. But that's why I always want to provide a safe spot for my kids too, because I don't want them to feel like at 18 they
Mm.
have to leave,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
or they have to like get out here at 21 or whatnot. It's like, I
I
want my
like that.
babies to be here for as long as possible. Of course, I'm going to help them and,
Yep.
get them off on their own,
Yep.
Mhm.
but they always have a place to stay here at, dad's house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's the same goal. I mean, yeah, you can stay around, but as long as you're being productive and you're finding ways the way that we raised you to be, okay, because
Exactly.
we don't want you to be, just lingering for no reason, doing nothing.
Hmm.
Be productive.
Yeah. Dead weight.
Yeah. So one more question. We're doing the myth buster segment. Okay. So what is one fitness myth that you want to bust today?
Having to do cardio, man. Like cardio is not needed for fat loss. A lot of people they want to get healthy, they want to get in shape, and they neglect the most important thing, which is nutrition. They want
Mhm.
to still have the cake and think that they could just outwork a bad diet,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? And I
Yep.
wish it worked that way. but unfortunately,
Seriously.
it doesn't. I'm also in the peptide space, so I'm a peptide researcher. I'm
Okay.
specialized in peptide therapy, and so a lot of people think that they could just take these supplements and not have the basics, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
So going back to that, it's like you have to have the basics down. You have to learn how to eat right, proper nutrition, and eating right. I mean a balanced diet, protein, fats, and
yeah.
yes, carbohydrates.
Yes.
Everybody wants to blame
Don't be
carbs that they're
scared.
the enemy. They're not the enemy. Your body's it's a preferred source of energy is the
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrates, right? And so I just busted like 3 myths right there. Carbs aren't the
Yeah.
enemy. Everybody wants to just do cardio and outwork a bad diet and think that they could just use these supplements in place of hard work. Doesn't
You
work
hear
that
that,
way.
Brian? Brian
I
needs to
know.
listen to that one.
No, I
He's
listen
over
to
there.
it and I
He's
preach
over
it,
there
but I don't
thinking
do it. Okay,
he can
so
do
just back
5
off.
miles and he can eat that burger and cake later
Yeah.
on.
And I was the same way, man. I was the same. That's why I was never in shape. I was an athlete growing up my whole life, man. I just never had the nutrition part down. I
Yeah.
thought I could just have burgers and fries and then go and work out the next day. When I was younger, yeah, I probably could have got away with it.
Mhm.
But now I'm starting to realize that that's false. You cannot outwork a bad diet. You have to get that nutrition in check.
Yeah. And it goes the same for people, with the peptides, like you're saying. You're not,
Mhm.
what's the word that I'm looking for? You're not exempt from that, okay?
Right. Yeah, because then
Yeah,
everybody could just take peptides and be in shape. I wish,
Yeah.
Exactly.
but you have to do it. You have to have the basics.
yeah. No, yeah, and you still gotta build that muscle up.
Yeah.
Build that
Yeah. A
muscle
lot,
up,
a
So
you
one
lot of
know?
more
people
thing.
want to get lean without building the muscle. You have to
One more
build that
thing.
muscle. And go ahead.
Before we let you go, what is something that you would tell somebody who maybe is struggling with their faith, and doesn't have, discipline to, or is just struggling in life right now? What would you tell them to maybe, get back into the faith or start living a healthier lifestyle and be more structured in life?
Just come where you are, at whatever point in your life that you're at. If right now you're drinking and you're an addict and you think that you need to get all cleaned up and be perfect to have a relationship with God, no, it's false. You can come as you are,
Yeah.
dirty, grimy, addicted. You can come to church high. Like, God just wants a relationship with you. He doesn't
Yeah.
need you cleaned up first. He doesn't need you to be perfect. In fact, he would rather you come to him real, honest. Hey, God, I'm
Absolutely.
struggling. Hey, God, I don't believe in you right now, but can you please reveal yourself? Can you
Mhm.
please walk with me and reveal who you are so I can be like, you could be a testimony to my life? So everybody thinks that they need to be perfect. No, you don't. God wants you exactly how you are. Let him do the work in you.
Yep.
So don't come to him all perfect. Just come. The door is always open. God will always be there for you. Even though you leave God, God will never leave you.
Yep.
So just
Yep.
remember that and just
Yeah.
trust
Come
he
as
got
you
you.
are.
There
I
we go.
love that.
That is, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time and thank you for sharing your story and everything else. It's gonna touch a lot of people and hopefully
Mhm.
help them get on the right path,
Got me going.
the freaking war path. That's what I'm talking
That's
about,
right.
dude. That's
Yeah,
cool.
buddy.
That's cool right
If you're not on
there.
the war path, you're on the weak path, baby. Let's go.
Come on.
Yeah. With that being said, hey man, cheers to health.
Cheers to health.
Cheers.
You take care, brother.